Yo, what is going on, everybody? This your boy Sean, aka Puff Comics 83, and we are back after a week hiatus, and we're gonna do something different this week. We're not gonna talk a movie, we're not gonna talk, TV or whatnot. We're talking wrestling. And with that in mind, Survivor Series. That's next weekend, but we're gonna do it this weekend because next week is a holiday, so we're gonna take next week off. But we're gonna talk Survivor Series, and I'm joined by my wrestling mark himself, Varangian Vigilante. What is going on, brother?
Was looking forward to this. Was rewatching a lot of Survivor Series this week after I came home from Prague, and made a top 10 list of my 10 favorite matches from all the Survivor Series. I didn't watch every Survivor Series, but of course, check, okay, what was in the card, what I can remember, and maybe if there was something that I have not seen yet, and should make a list. Nothing that I have already watched basically is on the list. But yeah, I think it's also of course interesting since we both are the same age. I think we both have a lot of mid to late 90s stuff on there. And then of course this also really this list mirrors really my, when I was invested in wrestling. I think there is nothing from the 10s in there because that was just a shitty period. The PG, I think there's not really much of the PG era in there.
Same. Like most of my list, it ends with the year before the PG kicks in. So yeah. But a lot of it is mostly 90s and some 2000s.
Yeah, and Survivor Series was always a weird event for me because, also as a kid, even though of course I enjoyed there's some storylines, I was never a fan of the classic Survivor Series match. Even less of a fan later when they did Brand Warfare. It was horrible. And you can really see, especially as we grew up, in the era of the mid 90s, there's with wrestling, there is it, especially Survivor Series. It shows how the quality of the roster was not there to do this amount of matches. And I also think that in Survivor Series they very often overdid the match concept. I think it would have been fine to have one traditional match on there and then working something different. There's also some innovations later for Survivor Series which also made my list. But yeah.
But when it comes to Survivor Series, the initial concept of it, with the whole 4 versus 4, 5 versus 5, it started out decent, and the only reason it existed was to further the Andre Hogan storyline, because that first Survivor Series was mainly centered around those two. Yeah. But we can't forget about how Vince McMahon was I'm going to bully the NWA out of their traditional Thanksgiving spot, because Starrcade was originally in November. It was a Thanksgiving thing for NWA. But Vince McMahon's how can I compete against JCP Survivor Series? And I'm going to use Hogan and Andre as the main point of it and go against Starrcade and force the cable companies to say Starrcade or Survivor Series.
Yeah, because there was also the tagline of the first Survivor Series was the biggest event since WrestleMania 3. So they really sold it on the Hogan versus Andre. Of course, Andre at that point of time in no shape or should not have been in a ring or anywhere close to the ring. But of course, his dedication to the craft was also ultimately, of course, deteriorated his whole health. But I think you can't say too many nice things about Andre, the things that he did for the business, the things he sacrificed, also the the regulating power he was backstage, because nobody wanted to get on Andre's beds, and so of course You remember, like, you know, some classic stories with the free birds. It's like, no baby oil.
Macho Man. He hated Macho Man because of the baby oil he used.
And if you know, Macho Man is not afraid of a lot. Was not afraid of a lot of things. He was very much afraid of Andre.
But you know, one thing you don't want to cross Andre, if you are on his shit list, you don't even wish to work with him. Even Ultimate Warrior found out that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, the concepts of Survivor Series at the time, it fitted more in the 80s than it did going forward. By the mid 90s, the concept was pretty much like
yes. I think they too late innovated it, and when they innovated it, they went too far away. Like I say, it's like, of course, the Elimination Chamber is on my list, but instead of making the Elimination Chamber like the Survivor Series thing, it became like an own pay-per-view later. So I think they really cannibalized Survivor Series by like not giving it like a proper, giving a more, not like making an evolution of the classic Survivor Series concept.
I remember when they first introduced the Elimination Chamber, I was like, that was the perfect setup for Survivor Series. Like every year you can make that your Survivor Series match. But then they did SummerSlam the next year and had the Elimination Chamber, and I was like, you fucking ruined it, man. That should have been exclusive to the Survivor Series.
Exactly, would have been great. Or maybe to have like different styles that are just at the Survivor Series, but whatever they need every year, so they're gonna switch it up a little. Would be great to have like the Survivor Series, and then they're gonna like switch between War Games or like the Elimination Chamber.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like they could have did a better job of continuing with the Elimination Chamber and tweaking things and changing things up, but they didn't. And they just went into this whole, let's do whatever we want. We do one Survivor Series traditional classic match, and then a bunch of singles matches.
Yeah.
But the pay-per-view lost this concept and it's lost its identity.
And also like
they was even considering getting rid of it altogether.
Yeah, I absolutely like. I also don't like the time that the champion versus champion. I also think that was a really stupid idea for Crown Jewel this year. Like, because with champion versus champion, you know, somebody's gotta suffer. Like, if they make a solution this year, but if you're gonna do every year, you very soon run out like of some gimmicks up matches where one can lose without people showing like, okay, that's the weak brand, that's the weak champion, that's not really the World Heavyweight Champion. So yeah. Hey, but let's start with the list. You wanna start?
Alright, hold on for a minute. My number 10, and I'm gonna do screen share on this because, again, like you said, it's low on my list, and for good reason. Bam! The Montreal Screwjob.
That's my number 9.
But the reason why this is number 10 for me is because it's more about the screw job and it's less about the match. And there's another match between the two that's on my list, and it's a traditional wrestling match, and I think this is slightly better. This feels like the grudge match and the heat that these two had during 96 and 97. I like it more than the WrestleMania match because the WrestleMania match was an hour long and I was like, how do you do an Iron Man match with no pinfalls throughout the entire fucking match?
When I watched it back in the day, there was no pay-per-view like on German TV. So like internationally, we got all these pay-per-views for free, but a little bit later than they aired in the US. So I remember it was like always like at midnight. So I had to, when my parents were sleeping, sneak up to the TV and watch them. But that match was so boring that I went to bed and just read the next day, or just recorded and read and watched it the next day how it came out, like the Iron Man match. But actually, it's fun that with Survivor Series you actually got a lot of confrontations with Sean and Brett. And I even think like the one that Brett looks more favorable was like the 1993 one when Sean and his Knights wrestled the Hart Foundation, which actually should have been Jerry Lawler, but Lawler was frauded at that point by doing something naughty that he didn't do. So they had to change like the whole match. But and I think they had a better chemistry in that one, even though of course Sean had his like little escapades also in that match. He doesn't like to lose.
He was technically still the Intercontinental Champion in his mind. So that was the first time we saw the two Intercontinental titles on TV. So
it's but yeah,
this match here, and this match is like it's a grudge match. Like they were battling all over the arena. Yeah. But the problem is it became so focused on the controversy that happened beforehand. Vince McMahon couldn't pay Bret Hart the contract. He signed him to a 10-year deal, and he was like, WCW is kicking my ass and we're losing money, so he reneged on that contract and told Bret to sign with WCW while he's still the WWF champion. So going into this match, they was like, we need to figure out a way to get Bret to drop the belt, because he did not want to drop it to Shawn, because number one, Shawn was disrespectful to him, and number two, it's in his backyard of Canada, and Bret is very prideful in not losing in Canada.
Yeah, maybe if anybody watches this, I'm gonna get a little bit of backlash. I am absolutely 100% Team Vince here. Bret screwed Bret. It is true. It's like it's the wrestling business. Hindsight is 2020. Actually, like this was totally in Vince's favor, because at that point of time, I was watching WCW and I didn't want to have Bret Hart in WCW because he didn't fit like the whole brand.
He did.
So actually, like for Vince, this paid off so much. Like he created the Vince McMahon character was like fully brought on TV. Yeah, and he got rid of Bret Hart, which actually damaged WCW. Because of course they had no idea how to book him, because he, because WCW was like there was no power vacuum in there. It was everything was very the pecking order was very much established, and then you add Bret Hart into the mix, and nothing worked anymore.
They didn't even give us the Bret Hogan match because Hogan kept dodging it.
Of course, like it is Hulk Hogan. It's like, of course he's doing that.
On purpose.
Yeah,
but here's the thing. But here's the thing, though. You say you're on side Vince, and you know me, I'm a Bret Hart lawyer to the end. But here's the thing. If you're gonna say I can't deal with your contract no more, fine. But don't tell him to sign with WCW when he's still your champion. It's like you can figure out ways to say we can get him to drop the belt, and then he go sign with WCW.
Yeah, but I also think that Bret was not too cooperative on the whole thing, and there would have been better solutions, but I think for what we know, that really, Vince was not in the wrong.
Vince put himself in that bind because not only did he renege, but Bret still was honored to that contract until December, and he had some creative control on there. So Vince gave him some of that creative control, and Bret used it to say, "Well, I'm not going to drop it to Shawn. I'll drop it the next night. Just give it up."
But I think there were some clauses in there which actually that Brett overreached or wanted to overreach a little bit on that clause.
The whole thing was so messy, and I feel like both guys are responsible for this whole situation.
Absolutely.
And then Shawn Michaels, being the dick he is, he didn't help anything.
Yeah.
And then Triple H, backstab his ass. So it was everything was just so fucking crazy, and it led
so funny,
It led to this whole situation, and again, it's like the match was fine, but it was the whole screw job that took it away from it, and that's all people remember it for.
Yeah, it is also funny that the two biggest backstabbers, Triple H and Shawn Michaels, are now some of the nicest and most supportive people in the wrestling business.
One runs WWE, one runs NXT, so it's like DX got the power that they
I know it. Yeah, and Shawn doing a fantastic job at NXT. Like, it's really great, and of course, Triple H doing interpolating a lot of stuff that implementing a lot of stuff that really helps the wrestlers and their health. So yeah, let's just say you said it so well. It is messy, it's chaotic, but I think without the Montreal Screwjob, that the wrestling landscape would look a lot different today.
It's funny that when we talk about the Montreal Screwjob, it benefited the World Wrestling Federation because they said we're going with Stone Cold all the way.
Yeah.
And even Shawn Michaels was on his last day because he injured his back in January. That was like karma for him. Like, you screwed Brett, now you gonna mess your back up and you gotta take time off.
Maybe for Shawn Michaels, this was also the best thing happening to him in the long run, because also of course changed his life. And we're also gonna talk about that on my list a little bit later. Shawn was not a good babyface in the 90s.
I never cared for Shawn Michaels as a babyface. I'm he fits the stereotypical arrogant heel who likes to steal ladies and act like an idiot. So when he was babyface champion in '96, that's when I started watching WCW more. I was like, I want to see Shawn Michaels. Plus, I was loyal to the Hitman.
Which is funny because my number 10 pick is also Bret the Hitman Hart related.
Let's go.
Which is a match that is not so much on the list because it's an absolute classic, but it's more on the list because of everything that it spawned. So actually I want to talk a little bit about two Survivor Series, the match in there's a Bob Backlund versus Bret Hart.
I low-key like that match.
It's that one gets better when you rewatch it, because I remember when I'm watching it back in the days, what is this old dude is doing here? Of course, he's our age when he was in the ring at that point. But Bob back in the day, I also had no idea about the relevancy of Bob Backlund. Here in Europe, what he meant to the WWF, of course, that he was the past champion, actually the champion that Vince wanted out because he wanted to go in a new direction, of course with Hulkamania. So I think it was very interesting bringing him back at that point. But what I picked it most for the match, and I think you see this a little bit in combination with the prior Survivor Series in '93, with the Shawn Michaels and his Knights versus the Hart Foundation, is how fantastically over this length of time that Owen Hart versus Bret Hart was booked. Within those two Survivor Series. So in '93, when the Hart Foundation wins and Owen is the only one that gets the pin and is out, and he feels being the black sheep of the family and standing out there. While of course the '94, when the Backlund versus Bret was booked, Owen was already the heel, and he was in the corner of Bob Backlund, when to throw the towel, and the British Bulldog was in Brad's corner, which was so fantastically booked that the British Bulldog then runs gets knocked out, and then Brad is in the crossface chicken wing, and of course he doesn't give up, and then Owen he's giving the illusion that he's worried about, he's still his brother, and he goes to Helen, to their mother, and says, throw the towel, Brad is suffering. But I also laugh, of course, is Stu Hart is I'd rather have my son die in the ring than basically he's old school, yeah. So I absolutely love, how his mother played Warren, and Stu Hart was just no son of mine quit. So I really think that within this feud that Owen grew so much as a character, improved his promo skills, which was always a weakness in the past. And
I don't like that whole Owen was weak in the promo department. As a heel, Owen was at his best as that annoying nuisance of a heel.
Yeah, but that was when he started with that. I think that he grew so much.
He may have botched the Rumble promo where he kicked Bret's leg out of his leg. But he came off much better as a heel promo than as a babyface promo.
Yeah. But I also think that it's thanks to this feud. That is also thanks to this feud. So that's why I picked it as number 10, because the matches itself were not all-time classics, but still good, especially the Backlund Brad match. Really,
I think way better than their WrestleMania match. That's for
sure. And way better than I think most people remember. So really, I think that people should back and watch that one. But this match, because it grew the whole feud within the Hart family, and I think that especially Survivor Series is a pay-per-view that also really gets new feuds going before Royal Rumble, before the WrestleMania season starts.
And I also want to give props to Bob Backlund, because I felt like his story was underrated. When he was the WWF champion in '83, he never submitted. The towel was a big part of his loss when he lost the title, because his manager threw in the towel that led to the Iron Sheik winning the title. So for so many years, he felt that he never lost the belt. So when he lost that match to Bret Hart on TV during the summer, and he snapped and just beat up Bret Hart, it was a nice character evolution for him.
Yes.
And that his Mr. Backlund character, to me, was pretty underrated as a heel, because he could be insane and psycho, but then he could be mild-mannered and speak eloquently. But so I felt like his storyline was justified, because he felt he never lost the belt. He felt that he lost to Bret, and he just completely snapped, and that even with Owen's help, he felt justified in beating Bret Hart with the chicken wing. And then WWF said, let's have Diesel take the belt in 5 seconds or shit like that.
8 seconds. It was 8 seconds, and it was and the Madison Square Garden was a house show. And I celebrate, because I was the biggest Diesel and Kevin Nash mark back then.
Yeah,
which also plays into later points of the list, where I say back as a kid I really hated Bret Hart. Because I was a Diesel fan. We're gonna talk about that later. But I really think that the importance of the whole Hart Foundation, the family feud, was also really laid within those Survivor Series. So I think that Survivor Series really does best when it either starts a storyline or when it adds more plot to a story. So, what is your number 9?
My number 9 has Bret Hart in it, and it's a traditional Survivor Series match, and it also is the debut of the legendary Undertaker. This match right here the Dream Team against the $1 Million Team. And this match is what led to the debut of The Undertaker in the World Wrestling Federation.
Every time I see this, I have to think about like that the Undertaker Mark Calloway was worried that he's has to hatch out of the egg of the gobbledygook.
Thank God he wasn't the gobbledygook.
Yeah.
Because that shit would look awkward as hell for a man that size to be the gobbledygook. I'm gonna come out with egg. What the fuck?
Mm-hmm.
But this match is a tale of two. The match is not that great, but the Undertaker made an impact in this match, and the fact that he eliminated Coco Beware, which Coco Beware still had a grudge on that tombstone that he gave him, because you could tell that his neck got shorter with that tombstone.
Yeah, more about tombstones also later on my list.
And the legendary Dusty Rhodes, this was toward the tail end of his WWF run, and it's like they could have done a lot more with Dusty, but
hey, Kenneth.
What up, Kenneth? But we'll skip to that. But I felt like for a debut match, this was a perfect way to debut somebody like the Undertaker.
Yeah, and it also gave, I think, really birth to that thing, where nowadays people are always, wondering, do we get a big debut on Survivor Series this year? Because Survivor Series is also the birth of a lot of the debuts.
Yeah, and Rhythm and Blues was irrelevant by this point. But the second point of this match that I loved was the finale between Bret Hart and Ted DiBiase. I thought that match was the best portion of the match outside of the Undertaker stuff, because the Undertaker did his thing, got counted out so they could protect him, and then everybody else did, got their eliminations. But Bret Hart and Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, always had good chemistry in their solo matches, and the way they delivered within the last 7 minutes of this match.
Yeah, I really wish that Ted DiBiase had a longer wrestling career. But as a manager, of course, later on, he became, I think, even more famous. But for him, I really wish that he really got on a legal way the championship at one point.
He should have at least held a belt in the WWF. The fact that he didn't get a world title nor an Intercontinental title. The only thing he got was the tag belts with IRS.
Yeah, and of course the $1 Million belt which he created.
That's unofficial. That was his belt. He paid for that.
Don't tell it's unofficial. Virgil is gonna look down on you sad, man.
Rest in peace, Virgil.
Rest in peace. Yeah.
But yeah, that's my number 9 of 3 Survivor Series matches that I have on here.
Yeah. Which my number 9 we already talked about because it was the screw job.
Yeah.
So you can go straight to your number 8.
Alright, so let me go ahead and find it. The whole thing is not.
And yes, we did not check its other lists before because, no spoilers.
Alright, so this is my number 8. It's another Survivor Series match, but it's another one that had a great finale to it. And that's the Team Bischoff versus Team Stone Cold match. I love this match because of that last part with Shawn Michaels being 3-on-1 with Jericho, Christian, and Randy Orton. And to me, that's the best part of the match. The early portions with Steiner and them, that were okay. But once it got down to that 3-on-1 section, that's where the match shined. And
it was cool to have Steiner back in because he was one of the original boys in the 80s in the Survivor Series.
Yeah, because he was in the 93 Survivor Series, but that was
wasn't in the... Oh, was that...
Yeah, it was 93. That was his only Survivor
Series.
I
thought it was the 80s. Okay, I'm getting it.
Remember, he came back. He joined the WWE in 2002 after Survivor Series. That's where he re-debuted.
Yeah, there's also one of the big Survivor Series surprises. Big Bubba Pump! As everybody knows, of course, just happened randomly there. The big Bubba Pump mark.
But yeah, like I said, the whole thing at the end is really what elevates this match. And Shawn Michaels was bleeding buckets. You talk about Vince McMahon bleeding buckets at this very event.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels was bleeding just as much as Vince McMahon was. And, and he was like excellent. This is where Shawn Michaels excels. Like, he can be a great ring technician along with a high flyer, but when he's a babyface in peril, he really elevates this match. And him being busted open and everybody beating up on him, it made the comeback just that much. Because again, it's not like modern wrestling where he's coming back doing all these moves and winning the match. Like, no, he's coming back at surprising moments. The roll up, catching Christian with a super kick, and then having the finale with Randy Orton. I really loved the storytelling within that last match. And then you have Bischoff and Austin, getting into it off outside, which leads to Batista running in and costing Shawn the match. So again, this is how doing a story-driven Survivor Series type match can work.
Yeah, actually, that was also one of the matches I watched because actually Scott Steiner. Just like I think one of the only people in the world, I never liked Stone Cold. I don't like the character. It's like I like Steve Austin, but he was way better in the Hollywood Blondes.
Stunning Steve.
I'm gonna die on that hill, but the Hollywood Blondes in WCW was so fucking underrated. Of course, thanks to Eric Bischoff, of course, later.
But Bischoff is the reason why he became Stone Cold.
I know, that's the thing. Like, this also works here, but it's like, I don't like the Stone Cold character.
Well, then you probably won't like my number one.
Probably not, because Stone Cold is not on a single match of my list.
I figured that.
Yeah.
But my number one is, one of the best rivalries in the company at the time.
Yeah, the only Stone Cold I like is Steve Whiting.
Steve Whiting took the title from Stone Cold Steve Austin. But yeah, this is my number 9, and fantastic work towards the end of the match.
So, and then your number 8, I think, was it?
Yeah, my number 8.
Yeah, mine. Well, no, your number. That was your number 9 because we don't even need to get.
Yeah, your number 9 was
mine. Yeah, my number 8 is a totally underrated match. I think maybe this year a little bit people talk more about it. Sadly, for a sad reason, because Sid passed away.
Oh man!
It's Survivor Series '97. Shawn Michaels, versus Psycho Sid for the belt, and Psycho Sid won the belt, and the audience cheered for Psycho Sid. People often don't know these days how over he was, like in '96. It was actually the last Survivor Series that I really watched back in the day, because I was just watching WCW at that point. So this was actually when I watched it, it's like, yeah, I was very happy for Sid. Also because Shawn Michaels was just at that point of his career. Later, he was a fantastic babyface. He was such a forced babyface at this point. They made the same mistake they made with Diesel exactly again with Shawn. Like, I never believed the boyhood dream, etc. So when basically they just redid everything with the bodyguard, turning on on each other, like with Sid. It's so amazing, when you watch the audience, that even some of the kids cheered for Psycho Sid. And for him, he was never a fine craftsman. He was not the best at improvising his promos.
That's what makes Sid great. Let's be real.
Yeah,
I don't want to see Sid in no 5-star match. I want to see Sid do some power bombs and fuck people up.
But his presence in the ring, he had it. Like, it would have actually been better for him if he never talked. Just his sheer presence. He had this. He had this charisma, and he should have been in his lifetime in the Hall of Fame, because he was a WCW champion and he was a WWE champion Nobody can take this away from him. And his matches, although they were like not technical masterpieces, they were intense. When he powerbombed Shawn Michaels at the end before he covered him, you really felt like he was powerbombing him through the Earth's core. Yeah, this is like one of the most underrated matches at Survivor Series, and yeah, sadly Sid passed away this year, and but I still think everybody is also something. Go back and watch that, because you really see what Sid was all about, and it's also so great for the audience reaction.
The opening entrance alone, where Sid makes his way out, and the fans are cheering him.
Yeah,
fist bumping. Who's the man? You the man. Who's the man? You the man. The most classic. And I can watch that entrance 90 times and never get tired of it. Yeah. That right there told me that Sid was winning that match. I watched this pay-per-view live. And I was like, Sid is winning this match. Because the fans, especially New Yorkers, you gotta remember, us New Yorkers hated Shawn Michaels. Like every time I go to school and somebody bring up Shawn Michaels, man, we tune him out. Like fuck Shawn Michaels. Because you know, all of us was Bret Hart loyalists. Yeah. So we wanted Sid to beat Shawn. We all predicted Sid would win this match because Sid is the man. He's the ruler of the world.
Yeah.
And when he made his entrance, that entrance is legendary. When Sid passed away, many people reposted that entrance to Survivor Series. And that shows you the impact Sid had on wrestling alone, when he could connect with the audience and not even be like a 100% pure babyface. He was just badass. Like you said, he had this intense charisma.
Yeah. He was just there, like it.
Like Sid just bleeds charisma through his look. You know, and that's what made this match so special. And again, when he passed, it was a sad day.
Yeah, and also like it speaks volumes that, you know, in '96, when of course Scott Hall and Kevin Nash went to WCW, that when I think like '96 WWE after the departure of them, that this is the only match that is in my mind where I'm like, that was good. Like probably there were more good matches, most likely, but this is the first match that pops into my mind. WWF '96, good memories.
Yeah, awesome, man. That's a great choice.
Yeah.
All right, so my number, I'm gonna get the number right so I don't mess up. Number 7. The Elimination Chamber.
That's not a spoiler. It's actually my number 1.
The only reason it's not number 1 for me is because I felt like they didn't get the pacing right of it, and the intervals from the entrance, it took like 5 minutes, and it was pretty long. The match is like over 40 minutes, but the concept of it was great.
Eric Bischoff getting out, selling it, you know, with his metal rod. There's like, stay up here, Steve. And there's only 2 ways, like you can like leave, is by pinfall, or if you can't take it anymore and you submit.
And it's a great combination of War Games, the Survivor Series, and the Royal Rumble, all into one. Because it's like, can you survive this punishment?
And that structure, absolutely.
Yeah, can you survive this punishment structure?
Yeah, and the old structure before they tamed it down because of naturally for injuries. But like this first structure was just gruel. You know, when you speak of a like career-shortening match, then this is it. And also, like one of the reasons why it's my number 1 is, first of all, that it really gave like Shawn Michaels like his second spring, and of course like I love RVD, I love Booker T in there, I love Chris Jericho in there, and that also like Triple H pushed through like with his injured throat when RVD miscalculated the frog splash, and that's like still looks so gnarly when Triple H after that, he has like his feet on the ground and you can really see like that's not selling, like he's hurt and he pushes through, can't respect it enough, and of course just the structure. I think this match, this is also really a match that defined like a new era, like in 2000.
The ruthless aggression.
Yeah. And this is like also I think one of the start points where I think this structure and yeah, I think 40 minutes, but it goes by so fast. And this is also one of the matches that I very often rewatch, because just like the thing with RVD, I just love when he's like on the third rope, wanted to do like frog splash, and he's looking up. Oh, it actually goes higher, so he jumps up like to the cabin. And I also think that for something being a first, that they already established like a lot of ropes that were used later and already went very creative with the whole concept.
Yeah, so I enjoyed this match, and it should have stayed as a Survivor Series match, a trademark Survivor Series match, but it is what it is. That's my number 7. So what? Yeah. You're on your number 6?
Number 7.
Okay.
Also 7. Yeah. So my number 7 is actually the last classic Survivor Series match that is on my list, and this one is mostly there because of fantastic storytelling, not so much because of wrestling or following any sort of rule set that was established, because how can you count out like a whole team at once? It's Survivor Series 94, the bad guys versus the Teamsters, which of course was just booked to have the breakup of Diesel and Shawn Michaels and the Razor standing tall in the end. So the teams actually, when you like the teams actually the bad guy, the Teamsters they're the bad, which are actually the bad guys, not the bad guys, the bad guys, which actually see with the team members that the roster was not that deep in 94. Of course, you had for the bad guys, British Bulldog, Razor, they want the free kid, but they also had like Fatu in there, Rikishi. And you had also like Sione, the Barbarian, like just in the field, like
that always was weird when he came back and he was Sione. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to Samu?
Yeah, so like that, like it's such a weird team composition. So I think it was actually better done with the Teamsters. You had Shawn Michaels, you had Diesel naturally, then you had of course Jim Neidhart, Owen Hart. Owen was so fantastic in this match because he apparently looked like he was the only one who gives a shit. And then you had like the man with a good look that has absolutely zero charisma and never drew a dime, Jeff Jarrett.
Man broke 1,000 guitars, never drew a dime.
Which is because even as a kid, you can see that Jeff Jarrett has like a look, but he has absolutely zero charisma. And I didn't care for him when I was a kid. I didn't care for him when I was a teenager. And now as a matured, experienced wrestler fan, I still didn't care for him.
Never cared.
Never cared. He might be a nice guy. I don't know, but it's just like I have no interest in watching any match of his. And if I want to watch a match of his, it's not because he's participating. But yeah, the match was, of course, this match was built to build Diesel even more. and to break up Shawn and Diesel finally, because of course before that at the fucking SummerSlam, which I remember like watching, you know, not live because we didn't see them live, but as soon as possible on German TV, big Diesel mark, and then I was like, you know, Diesel's gonna beat Razor for the Intercontinental, and I was already cheerful. And then when Shawn said, "Hey, hold him up," and I'm gonna do the super kick, like, don't do it, this will backfire. And of course it backfired because Shawn super kicked Diesel, and here he's fucking super kicking him again. But before that, like the whole build up that Diesel is just, you know, eliminating Sioni, like then first Fatu, I think the eliminates Fatu, and then power bombing Fatu, like the jackknife power bomb, like wow. And then when he lifted up the Sean Waltman, wanted a free kick and slammed it and power bombed, jackknife power bombed him and stood on him like a victor, like counting it out, and then Sioni, and then threw the British Bulldog up, and he was counted out, and then it was like 5 against 1, only Razor left. And of course Diesel was also like, they had like a fantastic match, Razor and Diesel, and then he checked off powerbombed Razor, wanted to pin him, but Shawn was like, no, I want to be in, I will do the last cover. And then Diesel, being the better man, like tagged him in, and then Shawn is like, no, hold him up, I want to super kick him. And then of course he super kicked Diesel, and Diesel was not having it. So basically he was hunting Shawn out, and also like the others followed. Only Shawn was, and only Owen was the only one who's like, we're gonna lose the match. So of course Hebner counted out the whole team, which I think is like not even, because you can count out one in the next scene, then you have to count out that one, which of course, like when you think about it, like the whole rules didn't make sense. But of course then you had like Razor stood tall in there. But it's not the best match, but I absolutely love how they booked Diesel in it. And this was the culprit of him becoming the world champion later. And
2 days later.
Yeah, 2 days later, like 8 seconds, checked off powerbomb, Madison Square Garden. And one of the most misbooked championship runs that we're also going to talk about later on this list.
Yes. I'm glad you put that match, just because of, you know, how it impacted you in the booking of Diesel and stuff. Yeah. My next match is not the best, and it's the conclusion of the whole damn Invasion storyline, and that's this match here.
It's just this is so sad. This is, especially, you know, this is it's necromancy in the worst way possible. Worst way. But I enjoyed this match a lot. Outside of Big Show being a part of it, who was pretty much a waste. Outside of the Alliance being WWF guys and RVD and Booker not getting no shine. Which is so funny, because I think that was something what Old School Wrestling Reviews once said, which is one of the best wrestling channels, with the Big Show, where they said the Giant was a main eventer, Big Show is just a mid-carder. It sucks, because when you watch his early WCW stuff, like, he felt like a threat. Whereas as soon as he came to the WWF and The Rock called him a 500-pound bag of monkey crap, it was over right then and there. So he never recovered from that, and he was just there. But I just like the overall chaos of this match. And this is the last Survivor Series traditional match that's on my list. Everything from this point on is solo matches. But, you know, it's The Rock versus Austin in 2001. You knew it was going to come to that. And the whole thing with Kurt Angle being the mole, which I had issues with even at that time. Like, it made no sense for Kurt Angle to be part of the Alliance, just for him to be a mole. And he was fighting Austin throughout the entire summer. Yeah. And the thing is also, like, it makes really no sense, you know, especially when you know that how much he hated ECW after the whole crucifixion thing.
But yeah, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. It's probably one of those matches where I should revisit and take off the list. But it is what it is. I never really revisit it. I would put the Sid Shawn Michaels match over this in a heartbeat. But I still enjoy the match for what it is.
For me, it's just as a WCW fan,
it's
just such an insult how to play with the corpse of something that was great.
But that's Vince McMahon for you. Like, he didn't care. He sat he shit all over the. You know what the biggest crime was? How they treated DDP.
Oh yeah, that was
the biggest crime
real
ever.
People's champion. That was like making like the stalker for Undertaker's back then wife.
Like that shit was fucking horrible.
One of the most positive people, that is out there, like not only wrestling but also the whole fitness world. Like I remember when I watched with my back then with my now ex-girlfriend Olympia like 2 years ago, and just randomly the mention is like who we got in the audience. We got DDP in the audience, like, and I marked out immediately, like, watching live saying, yeah. I love DDP, and the way they booked him was absolutely a crime. But yeah, let's get on to other things. I already said that we're gonna talk about how they misbooked like the whole Diesel Championship run by turning him into something that he's not, like a clear-cut babyface. And that this match, when I watched it as a kid, I was still, I was still a Diesel fan. I was like, I really wanted him to be like the, just a cool guy who beats up people and not like a babyface. But I still was like in Diesel's corner, and therefore, like, I really hated Bret Hart, but not because I hated Bret Hart as a person, but I hated him because he was the biggest threat to Diesel's title as a kid. So they had the no disqualification match in Survivor Series 95. Bret Hart fucking roll up like this fucking sneaky thing, like, pretending that he can't walk anymore. And then having the roll-up, which is, of course, the most devastating move in wrestling history, and defeating Diesel for the title. Like, I had nothing on it. Like, going to fucking school the next day and seeing all these fucking grimaces over these Bret Hart marks. Like, that's horrible. I remember to this day, the next fucking school day. Like,
well, I was happy like a motherfucker. Yeah, the Hitman's the champ again.
Because one of my cousins was the biggest Bret Hart mark, and he was like,
man, that match is higher on my list. I love that match. It's one of my favorite matches.
It's also when you look like retrospective on it. Bret also really, he really gave Diesel one of his best ring matches, because of course, like, Diesel not the best wrestler. Like, I'm gonna tear a quad just thinking about it.
And see, I'll say that Bret and Diesel have really good matches. Like,
very good. And
like,
what's the sad thing?
Go ahead.
The sad thing is that Bret hated the Clique, and yet Bret gave Kevin Nash so much in his wrestling. They had really good chemistry, and Kevin and Shawn, like, two of the best friends, and Shawn screwing him royally by fucking up like the jackknife.
Yeah. And then like, you watched their Royal Rumble match early in that year. Bret was willing to put over Kevin Nash in the terms of, I'm gonna make you look really good.
Yes.
I'll do some healer stuff so the fans won't cheer me and boo you. Because the fans were still loyal to Bret.
Yeah, and in this match, also Bret went totally heel.
Yeah.
Like, right up to the ending, like that sneaky, like, roll-up, which, of course, on the one hand is very heelish, on the other hand also really protects, like, Kevin Nash from like from a clear loss, which of course I know now, but back then as a kid, of course, it was like humiliating.
The look on Kevin Nash's face, and you could see the words utter out his mouth. Yeah, this match is fantastic. I love this match. I won't mind this when we get to it.
Yeah, that is matches really like. For me, it would have been high on my list if Diesel would have won. But I'm still like, you know, I still feel the pain from the year.
Nice. Now, my next match is two big guys going in. This is later in the mid 2000s, but I thought they had a phenomenal WrestleMania match. And all their matches that year in 2007 was great. But then they culminated at the Survivor Series, Undertaker and Batista, and decided
that was a good one. That was on my short list. It didn't make the top 10 because this is a match that I've only I've rewatched. I have not seen contemporary. But this is also a match that I go back to and always like to watch. Especially I'm having another post evolution based match on my list very high. But yeah, you know, first of all, Batista at that point, I think this was really the height of his wrestling involvement, and Undertaker and Survivor Series just goes hand in hand naturally, and Hell in a Cell, and this was an intense match, and also the Undertaker still we're gonna talk about that later, that I think he had his wrestling prime for such a long time, and he's very much, I think, for maybe modern fans, or maybe a lot of fans didn't appreciate the longevity, not only of his character but also his wrestling skills.
The only thing that holds this match back is the interference from Edge. I just by this point I was a bit over with Edge. I never really took him serious as a main eventer, and him interfering in the match, it's did we really need this? They could have gave Undertaker and Batista the satisfying conclusion to their awesome rivalry they had that year.
Yeah, and I also I really don't like interferences in Hell in a Cell matches.
Yeah, and it
even
really,
the first one, even the first one, before a lot of people say it's so fantastic, I still think that Kane coming out was it was to the detriment of the Hell in a Cell, even though storyline wise it was of course an epic moment.
That was the only one that made sense. And it's not like Kane was hiding under the ring like Edge was. But yeah, this match was phenomenal. And you know, despite the ending, I enjoyed the entire every match they had got better and better. And this is a testament to when they were at WrestleMania and they said your match is in the middle of the card, and they took that shit personal, and they went out there and over-delivered.
Yeah. Which is so fun because my next match was also in the middle of the card and should have been main event, which is so weird. It is not.
Yeah, but this match was amazing. I loved it. I loved it.
Yeah. My number 5, also The Undertaker, but a little bit early in his career. Not quite his debut, but the year later. Oh, brother, you got me. Undertaker versus Hulk Hogan, where Undertaker won his first championship. And this is, for a Hogan match, I think that the Undertaker really, even storytelling is of course on point. Hogan, fantastic storyteller, and the Undertaker had his presence and his smoothness in the ring, the way he no-sold, half-sold the moves. I think that match is very underrated, also for the in-ring wrestling, and I think you can already see that the Undertaker had so much potential, which is fun enough because the gimmick is quite silly. However, he just made it work, and with that longevity, with slowly reinventing and going back to things, adding stuff to it. Like the only thing I don't like about this match, which of course it makes sense because they had also the storyline going on, like the true world champion Ric Flair, that Ric Flair interfered, but of course like Hogan, no way losing clean. And I also think this match is so much funnier when of course you listen like how, like the backstory thing what the Undertaker told ESPN, that like the whole day like Hogan was really like there, and he's like to Marcus like, hey, I hurt my neck, and it's like, be careful with that pile driver, and he delivered the safest pile driver, and Hogan like, oh, you hurt my neck, but you got me, brother.
This kills me every time Undertaker talk about that.
Yeah, it never gets old, and the thing is, when you watch it, like, it's such a safe pile driver. But of course,
hey, that's the pile driver Austin, which he took from Owen Hart.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, when Hulk said before, oh, yeah, my neck, like, he pile drived him once again before, and Hulk immediately like jumped up and did the Hulk up, of course. So in the match, you didn't see any sort of like tingling, when there's a move and Hulk is like, no, like, there was no fucking neck injury before, and there was no fucking neck injury after. But I think it's still a fantastic story that, and also, like, we know that Jan think, okay, that's what Hulk Hogan is about, the golden goose. And you can already see, like, in this match, that actually Undertaker got a lot of cheers when he won the title. Yeah. And also like kids celebrating like it, and it's like that Hulkamania was running on fumes
by this point it was
in 91, yeah, and
it was running out of gas.
Yes, so like,
that didn't stop them from having Hogan win it back 2 weeks later. which is why this match ain't on this match is great for the Undertaker. And it is a Survivor Series moment. And I even posted the video from the Survivor Series flashback. But then, Hogan got to get it back within a week or so later?
Yeah, I know this. This match is also like I said, it's a great match, but it's also so interesting and sad, with politics in wrestling.
And I understand why they did it, because they had to set up the Rumble so Flair can get it. But damn, they could have at least... that could have within a month.
Yeah, that could have been things done differently. They could have just like made up. Oh, that was not one fair. Like take the title away from the Taker. Like he's not even a living person. How can he hold the title? Like there would be so many things that you could have set up to revisit later after the Flair Hogan feud, which was also one of the biggest disappointments that had the most potential. Like the dream match, that should have been a dream match, but was a nightmare. And it was also so fucking with the time when they did I think it was the Royal Rumble video game on Super Nintendo and Mega Drive. And one had Hogan and the other had Ric Flair exclusively. Yeah. So I was like, come on!
It was bad. It was
bad. So, what is your number 4?
Same event as Undertaker versus Batista in the Hell in a Cell. But again, a huge emphasis on storytelling. Shawn Michaels versus Randy Orton. And with this match, Shawn Michaels was banned from doing the super kick, the sweet chin music. If he did it, he was disqualified. So he had to find clever ways to try and win this match without his signature finisher. And again, this is great storytelling. Take away somebody's ability to use their finisher and have him come up with different ways of trying to win the match.
Just imagine having Just imagine having the Young Bucks.
Tell them you can't do not a single super kick. No super kick party for you.
Yeah. Or the Usos, like Young Bucks versus Uso, and nobody's allowed to do a super kick.
They will break that rule within the first 5 minutes. But yeah, like this is classic storytelling, and it takes me back to when Bret Hart talked about how when he won King of the Ring, they say you can't win with the sharpshooter, and it's like, well, damn, that's matches I can't win with my finish. So each finish was creative and unique. So
Bret was very excellent at coming up with intelligent finishers.
Yeah, so with this match, Shawn Michaels was doing everything he can to come up with different variety ways to finish off Orton, but Orton wasn't having it. And again, it's the old guard versus the young guard. Orton could hit the RKO out of nowhere.
Orton is still young guard to me.
He's old guard now, but he's still.
Yeah, I know. It's like, for me, he's still a young talent.
But yeah, this match to me was phenomenal storytelling, and it was a great match. And when you got a card where you had Undertaker, Batista, Hell in a Cell, it's hard to have two great title matches in one show.
Yeah.
But they did it here with this match, and that's my number 4.
Yeah, which is a fantastic setup to my number 4, because you already mentioned Batista and Randy Orton, 2 members of Evolution.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most underrated feuds that were so intense and were so much built by backstage love, by on-screen hatred. I have Triple H versus Ric Flair, last man standing match.
Nice.
From Survivor Series 2005, which of course was after the already fantastic, I think the Taboo Tuesday Hell in a Cell match, which is also so underrated. And Triple H always works best when there's like a stipulation in the match. And in this feud, you can see the love that Triple H has for Ric Flair to really put him like over. Of course, like Triple H won this match, but he still put Ric Flair over, and Ric Flair, he still got it at that point. You know, when they brought him as a manager for Evolution, so he's just a manager role. Of course, like it's like you just look to left and right, and where's Ric Flair is already in the ring fighting. Yeah, absolutely love Slick Rick, and this match, the storytelling, because of course it starts, Triple H being like in the late prime of his career, and Ric Flair still being in his prime, because he never was not in his prime. But of course, like Triple H like beating him senseless, Ric Flair bleeding like a pig. And, it was just so one-sided until one moment when Ric Flair took out the testicular claw and got Triple H in his manhood squeezing. And it's like, ah! And then it turned into a match. And the way that strategically Ric Flair targeted the legs of Triple H, because, of course, like the story was like, of course, this was like the leg with like the quad tear, like only 1 year ago, and also in the match, because it was a last man standing match, like he had him like in the figure 4 leg lock, having all the leverage from the ropes, and Triple H tapping out, but doesn't do him any good because it's a last man standing match. And then later, like Triple H giving 3 fucking pedigrees to Ric Flair, Rick getting up from everyone, until then that he brought out like his last insurance policy, the sledgehammer, and he giving like such a convincing sledgehammer shot like on his back spine that it took this to have him out, and then just Triple H standing over him like forming a pistol and basically putting him out of his misery. Well,
it was a great match.
This match is so great, and and people don't talk enough about the feud that there was like the last Evolution feud that Triple H and Ric Flair had like in 2005. This is for me. This was just a masterpiece.
Just think about Triple H at the Royal Rumble that year for Randy Orton. Then he had his rivalry with Batista.
Yeah, also fantastic tell yourself.
Then he closed out the year with Ric Flair.
Yeah,
he fought his whole crew in 1 year.
Yeah. So just fantastic. So what is your number 3?
We talked about it at number 10. But their better match, Survivor Series 92. Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels. Intercontinental champ versus WWF champ. And if you talking pure wrestling match, this was their best of the 3 matches.
I absolutely agree, and it also, I think that sometimes it was like, hey, Spider. It was like, of course, the roster was not very deep at that
especially
point.
At this point.
Yeah. However, I think that it was like one of the few occasions when the Intercontinental Champion holder was like in the eyes of the fans on par with the World Champion. You had this with Hogan versus Ultimate Warrior. You of course had it like with Bret and Shawn. You had it of course later. When it was just when The Rock, Triple H, and Stone Cold, really grew to power. And of course you had with Gunther when Gunther was Intercontinental Champion.
Hell, you can even say during Razor Ramon's time as Intercontinental Champion, he was equal as World Champion.
I still think that for me is like that Razor was when somebody says Intercontinental Champion, the first thing I think about is Razor.
Yeah, but this match here, like they had so many matches in 1992 when Bret was the Intercontinental Champion. So when Bret gets the world title, Shawn gets the IC title, and it's natural for them to be the first big program. And especially at a time where there's no Hogan, Ultimate Warrior pretty much got fired at this point. And the main match of the show wasn't even the main event when Macho Man and Mr. Perfect against Ric Flair and Razor Ramon. So they went with this match as the main event, which is risky considering the fact that Bret just got the title and Shawn is not now.
Shawn is Shawn.
Yeah, but he's being thrusted into the main event spotlight within the first year of his singles run.
Yeah, but of course, like now in hindsight, hey, you have 2 of the best wrestlers of an era. Naturally, something will come out of it. But of course, back then.
Yeah, and I look at this match right here as the starting point of the new generation era.
Yeah.
Because the fact that these 2 main evented a pay-per-view for the world title, and they're both the champions of the world and Intercontinental, shows that Vince was moving into this direction of he's got to move away from the steroid.
Yeah, exactly. 2 men in the main event that are not big meaty men.
But they're still competent wrestlers. And they delivered a great wrestling match.
Yeah.
And the fact that you got Bobby Heenan and Vince McMahon calling that match makes it even better. And it really, this match would have been even better had they not did the angle with Jannetty and Sensational Sherry. And if Sensational Sherry was there. Because she would have added some more heat to the match. But as a match, it was a great match and definitely worthy of number 3 on my list.
Absolutely. Maybe I should also have put it on my list. Yeah. So, my number 3, and we're going back to The Undertaker, which was the last Biker Taker match. Mr. McMahon versus The Undertaker, Buried Alive match. Just a bloodfest, and I love every second of it. Vince McMahon in this one, at one point you really think, you've seen so many people bleed, But the aftermath, like when the whole fucking announcer table is full with the blood of Vince McMahon. And
this match was damn near a squash match.
Yeah.
The Undertaker was just destroying.
Naturally, but like the way that Vince took the punishment, it's just this is a splatter movie. This was the first cinematic match. This was a fucking splatter movie, and in this period I just really love how they went with the color. So there was, I don't know what they used. They used a fucking machete for blading.
Gave him one punch, and this man was already leaking.
Yeah, leaking is the right word. It's like, you don't see this anymore. And even like I love GCW. Like even at GCW, this would have been counted as a match with a lot of blood.
It's crazy. It's crazy that Vince went all out to make this match interesting. Because as a match, it's not that good. But as an entertainment spectacle, I watch it because Vince is taking a hell of a beating. The Undertaker is looking dominant, and it's just something odd about it that I'm like, I want to watch this match because it's
a Buried Alive match. I really wish they would do more Buried Alive matches, because not more, but should bring it back for an occasion, because I love the Buried Alive match. And like I say, like with Vince, that in all his matches, even his match with Hulk Hogan, who created WrestleMania, or who created Hulkamania, like that was like a bloodfest, and Vince is a great storyteller in the ring, and he's what a lot of people always say about him is he's taking the punishment, and he doesn't want anybody to treat him like he's the boss in there. No, he really wants to take it, because oh Lord, everybody knows backstage he's gonna deal it. But yeah, this match also, of course, it's a historical, important match. That this is the last Biker Taker, and after that, there was a long period of him in pause and then coming back as the Dead Man.
What were your thoughts on Biker Taker again? Because I always enjoyed it, even though it was completely different, but it was necessary because of the attitude of it. Like,
yeah, I think it was an important transition. Actually, at that time, I'm not a Limp Bizkit fan. I thought like it's not metal enough. I think they should have been. I think he should have had something more real metal, not pussy metal, not like any of this crossover bullshit. He should have something like it could have worked. I think there would have been a better transition if it would have been from the Ministry, etc., to something more like satanic, maybe into metal. But of course, everybody knows that this was actually not the gimmick. This was the real Mark Calaway, because he's a rocker. And for that thing, at that point in time, I was like, hey, good for him. Like, so he's still in character, but he can finally enjoy also some of the promo life. He can bring a little bit more flavor in his promos, and of course, then he can also mix up his moveset to show some more variety. Since he's also a big MMA fan, to have some jokes in there. And the last ride actually was also, I think, a really good improvement to the skill set. And also think this was the time when they called the rope walk old school, because in my head it's just a road. It's not old school because it was always there.
To be honest though, I never liked that move, because I'm like, as an opponent, why are you just gonna watch this guy get over to the top, walk across, and then drop the arm on him.
Because he has your arm turned and you can't move.
Nah, man, nah. You can pull him off the damn rope. Pull him off, man.
That's actually what I always questioning also like as a kid when it's like, because we also tried it of course at home, which nobody should do. It was like, but how does he do it that you can't pull it off? Because it never worked when people actually were resisting.
Oh man. My number 2 is a match we already talked about.
Yeah.
This match right here is the best of the Nash Bret Hart matches, the Diesel versus Bret. I enjoy their King of the Ring match, King of the Ring '94. That was a pretty good match. The Rumble match I always felt was underrated, but I can understand why people don't like it because of all the interference and the restarts and stuff like that. But as they worked that match, it was underrated. But this match right here was the cream of the crop. No disqualification, had to be a winner, and they went all out. My favorite spot is when Bret Hart tied his leg to the ring post.
Yes.
That shit was creative.
I hated it, of course, when I watched it. but now like rewatching is like, yeah, the storytelling in this match is great. It is also, being also a big Diesel fan, I have to admit this is actually Bret gave him his best matches. And
Bret going through the table looked brutal at the time. And again, it's like spots like that you rarely see.
Yeah,
nowadays everybody goes to a table and it's so overused.
Now they start a match with somebody going through a table.
Yeah. But when you saw it back then, it was like you never saw it. So it was new and it was fresh.
And also like Bret, taking the chair, it's also such a rare sight for him going there.
This match had everything. It had the brawl, it had Bret's technical wizardry, and intelligence, with how he took Diesel's leg, tied it around the ring post, and then went to work damaging it. And then you see Diesel's transition into that cocky, arrogant heel that he will become. This is the Kevin Nash we saw throughout his title reign.
Yeah, I still think also that probably that match is gonna not be on the list of my WrestleMania top matches, but I think that the Undertaker Kevin Nash match is also very underrated.
Yes, it is. It's very underrated, and it just shows you that you put him with the right workers, Nash can deliver.
Yeah,
he can deliver.
Because of course, there is a reason why there's so many me were Diesel marks, because his charisma, and his arrogance, that just fits him. But of course he needs somebody in the ring that really works with him. It's Diesel is of course way better than Oz or Winnie Wiggins.
Yeah, if you put him in the ring with Sid, you're not gonna get great results. And then you put him in the ring with Mabel at SummerSlam.
Oh my god!
What was Vince thinking there? That whole thing just completely killed Diesel as a babyface.
Yeah.
So it was from this point, from here to his exit and the creation of the NWO, was when Nash to me was at his best. Being the tweener, then going full blown heel, and then creating the NWO. To me, this was the best period of Nash, starting with this match.
And play is not an adjective. This is not a big boy's play. Watch the adjective play.
He'll never live that one down.
Yeah. But yes.
That's my number 2.
Yeah, which is basically my last pick, because my number 1 pick was the Elimination Chamber that you had. But I still think in terms of WWE storylines, that first of all, I'm a big WCW fan, and therefore most of the fantastic creations of the American Dream was War Games. And one of the things that saved WWE and that also brought many people like me back into watching wrestling in the last years was the fantastic story arc that's still going on. Also, like this Survivor Series, you have the Civil War of the Bloodline.
Yeah.
So having Survivor Series 2022, the Bloodline versus Team Brawling Brutes in there, which of course like you have like the Brawling Brutes and you have like Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre, which I think for Drew McIntyre this was like also like an important match for him, along with the other matches he had against Roman, which gave us the fantastic character that he has now. Absolutely love it. But of course the main story point was, can the Bloodline trust Sami Zayn? Is he just an honorary oos, or
he's back to being a
don't feel very oozy. Or is he not? And the storytelling is so fantastic, you know, like that when Sammy then delivers the haluva kick to Kevin Owens and then presenting him like to the Usos, and everybody doing the finisher, and Roman, you know, being like punched down like totally at the end, laying there in the corner and looking and nodding and then hugging Sami Zayn. I think this is one of the, you know, I have to say that NXT did War Games way better than the WWE main roster so far, but like the Bloodline, and we're also gonna see this year, is just one of the main reasons why it makes sense to have War Games in there. And I think the storytelling you can have within it is just perfect. And I also think that War Games, because being of this match structure, also fits what a Survivor Series is about, you know, with team matches. They could still have made the twist to make it like an elimination match within War Games, like to give it like a little WWE twist, because of course otherwise it's always going to be compared to not only the fantastic NXT matches, but of course to the classic WCW matches when War Games was still war, and not Raw is war Games is war. So yeah, WCW, Mark, love War Games, and I'm very happy that Triple H is bringing back also in NXT some of the WCW pay-per-views like Halloween Havoc, the Great American Bash. I really wish that we get like I know one day some Bash at the Beach back, but yeah, I think War Games really revived Survivor Series in the last 2 years.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even though, like I said, for me personally, nothing will top those late 80s, early 90s War Games. Like the Four Horsemen War Games, or even the one with the Dangerous Alliance in 1992.
Yeah.
Those were for me, War Games. Because fuck that. But for me, those were like just straight up wars. It wasn't about storylines. Like, I liked the whole Bloodline thing, but I felt like the storyline just interjected too much from the guys battling it out. Whereas back in the days, it was just straight battle, and it was a war of attrition.
I like both approaches, but
For me, I just like the classic ones better.
Yeah, and what I love about the War Games is basically going at it, and basically when everybody's already at their end, the match just starts.
So you already had your number one. And I told you that you won't like my number one because the one person you don't like is in it. But
Stone
this
Cold
match
versus
is
Brett.
a wrestling clinic, and that is Stone Cold versus Bret the Hitman Hart. Survivor Series.
I watched this and I was pretty sure it's gonna be on your list. But it's like for me, it's just
I love this match.
Give him blonde hair and put him back into WCW, he would kill me. But I just think that the Hollywood Blondes way better than Stone Cold. I might be the only person in the world that
you might be one of the very few.
Yes, it's like there's dozens of us. Dozens.
But to me, this match was Stone Cold with Stunning Steve's wrestling ability. Early Steve Austin, before the neck injury, had the best of both. He had the Stone Cold character, and to me, this 96 Stone Cold as a heel was way better than him as a babyface. Like, always saying that his heel run in 96, early 97 was miles better than his babyface run in 98, 99. And he had the right opponent to work with because Bret Hart was the best man to get Steve Austin over. Especially at this time, when Steve Austin was still finding his footing, he worked with Bret Hart. And while people look at their WrestleMania match as the best match, I always felt that this match was severely underrated. And I like that more people are looking at this match like this is the better wrestling match. Whereas the WrestleMania match is the better brawl and the all-out war.
It's a really good match, and when I watched the 96 Survivor Series, if I would care for Steve Austin, this match would have been on the list.
Take away your Stone Cold thing and just base it on this match.
Yeah, it's a fantastic match that I just was not invested in personally. It's a personal list, but yeah, just objectively looking at it, absolutely deserving to be there.
It's a great. I watched this match, and me being the biggest Bret Hart match.
Yeah.
When you watch one match, you gotta watch it over and over again. That's how I felt with the Owen match at WrestleMania. That's how I felt with the Bulldog match at SummerSlam '92. And I watched this match over and over again because it was just that good. Bret Hart's selling of Austin's attacks was spot on. You know, the corner turnbuckle spot, always do it great. The way Bret sold the stunner out of nowhere, you know, he sold it like it was a legit real move that could have knocked him out and took him out of the match. Whereas nowadays, you see people take the stunner and they want to oversell and flop like a fish. I blame The Rock for that.
Yeah, and I still say there's only one person who oversold it and made it look way more devastating. Nobody took a stunner like Scott Hall.
Scott Hall did it the best.
Because it was overselling, but it was still looking real and menacing.
But when it comes to Bret Hart, he sold it with realism.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what makes this match so good. Like, it felt real. And Bret always say that he wants his matches to feel like it's a real fight within the confines of wrestling. And that's why every time I watch these modern wrestling, it don't hold up to what we see in these days. Hell, it don't even hold up to the 80s when like you watch Ric Flair versus Wahoo McDaniel and the battles they were doing. They're like, damn, these guys are really.
I still think there's some matches. For example,
very few.
When we're gonna do a WrestleMania list, this is gonna be probably on my list. Was of course the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship between Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, and Gunther.
Very few though.
Very few, like that was a battle.
Those guys, they can deliver this style of match. Whereas a lot of these, I don't want to put AEW on the spot, but a lot of what they do is like just can't take it.
It is like, you know, I'm a big GCW fan, and I love to watch it. It's so entertaining, but the matches not always make sense, like the follow-up of the moves and stuff. Like it's like selling is an art form, and I think especially like Bret Hart and like Ric Flair, especially in some matches like being demonetized, the way they were like selling to strategically like pulling apart their enemies, as we have seen, with Bret versus Diesel, when he was going for the legs, like the storytelling that there was so great, or like with Ric Flair versus Triple H, like going for the legs, somehow make you feel that this would have been the approach of a person that would go against the Giant in that match, and it's the only way he could really believably like come out the victor. So I think this is like an almost lost art form, like you said, that with a lot of matches when the underdog wins, it's not convincible. For example, at WrestleMania, when Sami Zayn beat Gunther, it was not a convincible match.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah.
And I like Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
But the way he won, it was
not convincible.
I looked at it like, man, Gunther deserved better.
Yes, absolutely.
And just look at my top 3 matches: Bret versus Shawn, Bret versus Diesel, Bret versus Steve Austin. 3 different style of matches.
Yeah.
You had a speedy wrestler who can be a high flyer in Shawn, a power tall, brawler in Diesel, and then you have a guy like Steve Austin who's a technician in his own right, but also can brawl. And Bret can work with all facets of those styles and make it believable.
He could do a lot of things. He could not work in WCW for saving his life.
And he could not avoid the kick from Goldberg.
Yeah, I still think that Bret is a little bit too hard on the I know Goldberg can be an asshole at points, but I truly believe that Goldberg is very sorry that happened, and that Goldberg at that point in his career, he didn't think he was doing anything wrong.
Yeah, they just wish that they would just put it aside and say, man, it's all good, man.
It would be nice, and but as we know, like that, nobody can hold a grudge like Bret.
And I'll say this: between the Montreal Screwjob, losing Owen Hart, the kick to the face from Goldberg, and then everything that's happened to his family, losing British Bulldog and his parents within a few years after.
Jim Neidhart, yeah.
Bret is the last remaining member of the Hart Foundation, and he's been through a lot.
I absolutely get it. It's
so for me personally, I just wish he wasn't so bitter most of the time. Just let the Goldberg thing go.
Yeah,
and it's just live life to the happiness.
Because it's like when people talk about, we already talked about it also, like the movie, the Von Erich curse, that you can also very much say there is a curse in the Hart family.
Yeah. Tragedy.
Yeah. It's and still
you look at wrestling families like the Von Erichs had tragedies. The Grahams, Eddie Graham and Mike Graham and stuff, they had tragedies, suicides.
Yeah.
So
it's still, and it's still to this day. The sad thing about it is, that Owen's death that kickstarted, I think, everything, was so avoidable. And this is the bitter part. And this is, on the one hand, I also get why his wife, the widow, why she holds this grudge against WWF still to this day, even though like other people are in charge. I get it, and because it was like they always were like, I think, like sweethearts from teenager age on, and Owen Hart, he just had it. You know, he was also going it through the hard way. He was also touring through Europe, as I was saying. Like he was even in the German charts as a member of of the like We Are Dynamite, like the Catch Wrestling Association music they put the wrestlers put out here. Yeah, wrestlers have been on the top of the charts. So. And when I was watching the music videos, like, hey, his own heart is in there. It was when he was just randomly touring through Europe, and as I said, it's still also, that's gonna be on my top WrestleMania matches for sure. It's gonna be Bret versus Owen, just such a great storytelling. But yeah.
I know I did a WrestleMania top 10 years ago on Instagram. I'll probably revisit that and tweet that.
That's gonna be tough because there's a shitload of fantastic WrestleMania matches.
I can't remember where I know I had Undertaker, Shawn Michaels high.
It's gonna be a very painful list to cut out some matches, especially some matches where you look like through the glass of nostalgia. And it's like
Yeah, it's gonna be funny. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully we can do the Royal Rumble in January, because Royal Rumble is my favorite time period.
I love Royal Rumble. Is this year I'm gonna. It's like if we don't.
And I hope Netflix get their shit together, because people was pissed off at that Tyson versus.
I didn't watch it.
Me neither. I was like, I'm not falling for this shit.
I don't have Netflix yet. I'm getting Netflix in January when WWE is on. Like not before. But yeah, fantastic list, and also really like that we had some overlaps, but otherwise like very unique list that really also like are a mirror of our wrestling history.
Yeah, the only thing I wish I did was updated mine, because I just went based off one I did 5 years ago, and I could have redid it. Took some matches out and put other matches in, but I'll do that for the Royal Rumble for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna look forward to it. And yeah, next week we're off, and then we're already in Christmas season. Can you believe it?
I know. We'll probably come back to do one more live stream.
Yeah,
and then we'll take the rest of the one off.
Exactly.
And start. I know you're gonna be digging to see what movies took place in 2025 from the past.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into it, and as long as there's no, I don't think we can get worse.
We talked Highlander too early in the year. That sucked.
Well, it was still better than Alien Infiltrator.
It's better than that, but not by much.
But yeah, I'm gonna dig into it for sure, and of course, next year maybe we also should talk some Kurosawa.
Yes, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
And I will see my situation on you and Gary B, because I know y'all gonna do the Red Sonja.
Yeah. The Wiltshire.
Yeah, I would love to join y'all on that, but I gotta see my schedule. But I will pull out the books. Just to read up on it, so I can be prepared if I can join.
Yeah, we hope you find time, because it's gonna be one fun stream.
So with that in mind, I want to say peace out to everybody that watched, and we will see you in about a couple weeks.
Yeah. Have a